Elliot sat on the worn velvet couch, sunlight filtering through the sheer curtains of their small apartment. The world outside buzzed with its usual chaos, but in here, time seemed to slow. In Elliot's lap, curled into a perfect crescent, was Marlowe, their tabby cat. His russet fur gleamed under the light, and his steady purring vibrated against Elliot's thighs, a quiet symphony of comfort. Elliot hadn't always been Elliot. Years ago, they'd carried a different name, one that felt like a poorly fitted coat, stiff, heavy, and not quite theirs. The journey to this moment, to a name and body that finally aligned with their soul, had been a winding path. There were days of doubt, nights of tears, and moments when the mirror felt like an enemy. But through it all, Marlowe had been there, a constant in a life of change. Marlowe didn't care about the old name or the new one. He didn't flinch when Elliot's voice deepened with hormone therapy, or when they came home with bandages after surgery, moving gingerly. He'd simply leap onto the bed, nudge his head under Elliot's hand, and demand his nightly ritual of chin scratches. His green eyes held no judgment, only the kind of love that needed no explanation. Today was a quiet day, but quiet days were treasures. Elliot ran their fingers along Marlowe's spine, smiling as his tail flicked in contentment. "You're my best friend, you know that?" they whispered. Marlowe's only response was a slow blink, the cat equivalent of a nod. Elliot thought back to the day they'd found Marlowe, a scrawny kitten hiding under a dumpster behind the local deli. They'd been in the thick of their transition then, grappling with family who didn't understand, and a world that sometimes felt too sharp. Coaxing the trembling kitten out with bits of turkey had taken hours, but it was the first time in months Elliot had felt truly needed. They named him Marlowe after the playwright, a nod to their love of stories and second acts. Now, 3 years later, Marlowe was no longer that frail kitten. He was a sturdy, mischievous cat who knocked mugs off tables and chased sunbeams with relentless enthusiasm. But he was also Elliot's anchor. On days when dysphoria crept in, or when a stranger's stare lingered too long, Marlowe's warmth against their chest was a reminder that love could be simple, unwavering. The kettle whistled in the kitchen, pulling Elliot from their thoughts. They shifted, careful not to disturb Marlowe, but he stretched lazily and hopped down, padding after them. In the kitchen, he wove between Elliot's legs, meowing as if narrating their every move. Elliot laughed, pouring hot water over a tea bag. "You're such a chatterbox today." They settled back on the couch, tea in hand, Marlowe reclaiming his spot. Outside, the world kept turning, with its questions and its noise. But here, in this small haven, Elliot and Marlowe had carved out something sacred, a bond that didn't need words, only presence. And for Elliot, that was more than enough.